We would like to thank Illinois Humanities for the Social Justice Grant. And with me, I have Waylyn McCulloh, and he will introduce himself.
Yes, thank you, Claire. My name is Waylyn McCulloh, and I'm the District Director of the 7th Judicial District, Iowa Department of Corrections, which is a 5-county area in east central Iowa. And I've recently retired from a career teaching at Saint Ambrose University, where I taught for 36 years in the criminal justice and sociology program.
Great.
I've been in the criminal justice field for over 50 years, soon will be 51 years.
Yeah, so that's great. And one thing we don't know about prisons, or what could we do better to help kids? And are there many kids in prison, or is it mostly adults? Or what would you say, what drives, why is someone in prison? I mean, I know they've done felonies. Do they have several chances, or what is their outcome when they're arrested as a child?
We have approximately 2 million people incarcerated in the United States. 1.2, 1.3 million individuals incarcerated in our prisons, our state and federal prisons. And we have another 700,000 people who are incarcerated in our local jail. Now, of course, in the adult prison system, majority of individuals there are adults. The only juveniles would be a juvenile who's been waived from the juvenile court system to the adult system. And that waiver is for one of a number of reasons. It could be the nature of the charge. It's a murder, a kidnapping, a serious sexual assault. It could be that the individual is exhausted all the resources in the juvenile justice system. He's been in for an extended period. Or he's 17 and will soon reach the age of 18, which the juvenile court system loses jurisdiction. So in those cases, some of those individuals are transferred to the adult system.
Tell me about, you were talking to me before about how sometimes prison, the same families are in there, what ratio, it repeats itself.
Well, we've seen that, and unfortunately, having been in the criminal justice system for an extended period, I'm now working with the grandchildren of clients I worked with 40-some years ago. I also worked in the juvenile system for 2 years. So there are individuals who I worked with when they were 12 and 13 who are now in their 50s and still serving time in prisons. So we've done some research, and again, as you said, some of it is you can identify certain families where there's generations of criminal conduct, and that some of the research in towns have traced serious crime that say 25% or 30% of the serious crime in that jurisdiction can be traced to one family in the community. So it's frustrating. How do you break that cycle?
Because they're just so used to it, and they just
Yes,
go in.
yes.
It's hard, but then there are some shining linings in these events, and you want to tell us about when you were a professor and some of the rehab that takes place, that when they are in prison, how can they turn this around?
Well, research shows that one of the best factors in changing someone's life is for that person to develop a relationship with one of the members of the criminal justice system. Could be even a correctional officer in the prison. If you establish that therapeutic rapport, and that person can serve as a role model, as a mentor, that sometimes those relationships are better than any of the gold standard treatment programs that we have. If you can establish that relationship and show the person a different path in life and help that person develop some skills, some basic skills, some soft skills, so that it would reduce that person's risk when he or she leaves the institution. As you mentioned, in teaching, one of my favorite success stories, in addition to the other instructor with whom I taught, who'd served time in the federal prison system for a methamphetamine charge, was a number of years ago. I was teaching a class in juvenile delinquency. The first day of class, I looked at the class roster and I saw a familiar name, and I looked out into the classroom and I saw an individual sitting in the rear of the room, and he looked familiar, but I thought, I see so many people that's easy to have some type of misidentification of individuals. But at the end of the class period, this individual approached me and said, "Hello, Mr. McCulloh," and I said, I won't give you a name, but Tom or whatever, and I said, what are you doing here? You look familiar." He says, "Yeah, I was in the residential corrections facility several years ago." I said, "Now you're in my class at Saint Ambrose. What
happened?
What happened? Because when I knew you in the facility, you were at the time in life where it was close to you going to prison because he committed a number of burglaries, including home invasions. And you had dropped out of high school. What turned your life around?" Well, when he was in the residential correction facility, part of the program was that if you had failed to complete your high school diploma, you had to go to GED classes. Mandatory. You would not be released from the facility until you had completed that. So he went to Scott Community College, completed his GED, discharged from the facility, and then I lost track of him after that until this day in class. Well, apparently after he left the facility, he played football earlier before he got in trouble, and now he's armed with his GED and thought, maybe I want to play college football. So he got married, found a college in Colorado, was accepted, went there and played football for a while until they had a coaching change. And then he decided to return to Davenport and enroll at Saint Ambrose. He enrolled at Saint Ambrose, and the course he was taking from me was a criminal justice course, but he was not a criminal justice major. He was taking it because it satisfied a social science gen ed requirement. But he was a business major. So he completed his business degree at Ambrose, went on and completed his MBA, and then got a management job with a local manufacturing company.
That's wonderful.
It was a wonderful story. He had a friend in the residential facility saying, I think they were co-defendants, burglarizing homes. After he left the facility, he went to work, he enrolled at the University of Iowa, program in biochemistry, became a biochemist, and married an FBI agent, and is now in San Diego working in forensic science.
So there is a turnaround.
Yes, and I think one of the most outstanding examples, when I was at the Juvenile Detention Center, I worked with a young man, history of violence, extreme violence. He was, had been arrested for robberies. After he left the juvenile system, he got in the adult system, eventually committed a murder. He and his brother murdered a drug dealer. Was sentenced to death in the state of Illinois until the laws in Illinois changed and and his death sentence was commuted to life in prison. He was also under concurrent supervision in the state of Iowa for a robbery in Iowa. Well, I'd lost track of him as well until one day, and this has been about a year ago, I had a voicemail message. And I, again, recognized the name, so I returned the call. And this individual answered, and I said, are you so-and-so that was in the juvenile detention center, was its director? He said, yes. I said, where are you? He said, I'm back in Iowa. I said, well, what happened with the murder sentence in Illinois? He said, well, I got paroled on that. And so now I'm out, and I'm involved in a doctoral program at a local university in teaching. So while he was on death row, Illinois continued to take college classes, completed a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, was teaching other incarcerated individuals in the institution in math and science. And now he's in a PhD program.
So they can turn their, if they meet the right person and they have the right concern, they can turn their life around.
And if they have the resources, they have the
resources.
capabilities, and again, a lot of it is just meeting the right person and having that person show them a different path in life. But and you mentioned with juveniles, what's exceedingly frustrating is the fact that we can identify an at-risk youth at the age of 7 or 8. So if we look at those individuals, those youth who are in behavior disordered classrooms or have those special programs, 7 and 8, we know that individual is likely, it's a high probability, that they will someday enter the adult correctional facility. And unfortunately, we rarely intervene in that individual's life until he or she reaches the age of 14 or 15. So you have all those years that no intervention is done, and that allows the person to penetrate the system much deeper.
So they need more counselors, or they need something.
We need more resources to deal with the individuals when they're
At younger age.
Yes, because that's the best predictor of risk, is the age of first arrest. And again, unfortunately, we just lack the programs to deal with that, and that's frustrating.
You gotta reach out.
Right. We have to do something early with the individual to divert the person from the system. Because once you get in the system, you get labeled, you get tracked, and it's very hard to get out of the system.
Well, Waylon, thank you. We appreciate all your advice, and hopefully we can help kids when they're in the elementary school and help kids get on the right path. And it is especially like a football player, it might be the coach, or it might be your favorite teacher, you might have a neighbor or grandma. Somebody is your hero. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for coming.